Candyfloss has what I think is my favourite Jacqueline Wilson book cover, illustrated of course by Nick Sherratt, and quite frankly the cover is pink, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. I found it very appealing. The narrative itself is also one that really stuck in my mind, and I'm not really sure why. It's not one that I can relate to, it's not one where I felt an affiliation with the protagonist, but I think it moved me a lot. We had some really great characters in this as well. And basically this is one of Jacqueline Wilson's books where I've read and gone, this is perfect from start to finish. This ticks all of the boxes. The narrative's brilliantly developed. The characters are, very well rounded. I think it's a really, truly, thoroughly brilliant book, and actually one of her most underrated. So this was originally released in 2006, published by Doubleday. When this came out, I would have been 14, maybe 13. I didn't read it at the time. I think I read it maybe as a late teen, and obviously not the target audience, but because Jacqueline Wilson is one of the main reasons why I write today, I always like to keep up with her latest releases, and this one has to be one of my favourites released in this century. This is about a character called Floss, and her name's actually Flora, so that's where the nickname comes in. And to make a long story short, her mother and her stepfather are going away to Australia for 6 months because of her stepfather's job. Floss doesn't want to go because she doesn't want to leave her father. And she decides, her parents allow her to stay behind with her father, Charlie. And her lifestyle very quickly changes. So to begin with, the reader sees her going through the emotions of no longer living with her mother, obviously because it's only temporary. It's quite different to the narratives where it's a single parent, where a parent has maybe passed away or they've left. This is temporary, so it's quite different. But Floss still has a lot of emotions. And ultimately, this is about a father who has just found himself becoming a single father, not used to looking after a child 7 days a week. And soon, Floss's personal hygiene is not kept up, and her school uniform is looking crumpled and a bit dirty, and children begin to pick on her because of this. And they also start to call her Smelly Chip, which is really powerful because that name has stuck in my head ever since I read this. I don't know what made Jacqueline Wilson want to refer to or give her this nickname of Smelly Chip from school bullies, but there's just something about it that works so well. And I don't know why, but if you'd called her Smelly Chips, it wouldn't have worked so well. And I'm just really drawn to that name. I think it was a really effective choice, really hit home. And I feel like there are a lot of children who go to school maybe not with the best hygiene because maybe their parents are struggling or whatever. And obviously because her father runs a cafe, and then they have their friend Billy the Chip, she does begin to, I guess, not smell the best. Maybe smells a bit greasy. And it's something that unfortunately a good number of children can relate to. And obviously teachers are usually trained to look out for this kind of thing, but it has to get to a certain point where teachers will notice it. But if the teachers are going to notice it, so are the children. And I think it's something that will make a lot of children feel like they're not alone, but also to realise that there is help out there for families, whether they're single parents or otherwise, who are struggling. The other thing I love about this is the character of Rose, who runs the Candyfloss stall at the fun fair. I won't talk a little bit too much about that, but obviously her father. There is a chip van at the fair. Candyfloss gives us always that extra element of the name of the book, and I really like Rose. I think Rose is an absolutely brilliant character. I won't talk about her too much, but I thought she was great. Mrs. Horsfield as Floss's teacher, I think, is perfect in helping Floss and helping the reader, the younger reader, realise that they probably can go to their teacher if they're having an issue with bullying or their home life. It definitely speaks very well to the younger reader and makes them realise that there is help out there, whether they're having issues at school or at home. Floss is a character I love. I really liked her spirit. I love Candyfloss. I love pink things. I love fun fairs. So for that spoke to me. Yes, when I read this, I really wanted Chips, and that is the case throughout it. I also kind of really wanted Candyfloss. Not the best for the waistline. Not something I thought I'd say about a Jacqueline Wilson book either. But I really loved it. It's definitely... It's not one of my top 5, because my top 5 are ones that I actually read in my childhood that have that nostalgia and those emotional memories attached to them. But in terms of the more contemporaneous literature, this is definitely high up there as one of her best. And if you haven't read it and you like Jacqueline Wilson, I'd say make it the next book you read. It really is very well developed with some really likeable characters, and ultimately I can't fault it.